Good morning and welcome to the UU Church of Berkeley. In this final service with our co-ministers, all of the worship associates will be participating. Our names will appear on the slides before each section. This is a welcoming congregation, and we are always working on how to welcome and care for one another better. We usually have worship on Sundays at 11 a.m., but during this time of social distancing, we are worshiping together on Facebook Live and YouTube. Before we begin, please take a minute and prepare yourself and your space for our time together. Go grab a candle and a way to light it so you can join in the chalice lighting at home. Also, we hope you will join in the service by writing in the comments section when we invite you to do so.
We continue to work with staff and volunteers to improve the technical aspects of our virtual service. If you experience any technological difficulties during the live stream of this service, please message the UUCB page and one of us will do our best to help you. Just like when we gather together in person, things may not always go perfectly. But we are glad to create space with all of you for us to connect deeply with the sacred and with one another. Now, please join in the singing of our opening song, Gather the Spirit.
Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit, harvest the power, our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour, our trials in this life appear all the same.
Now, whether you are lighting a candle or just the inner chalice in your heart, let us kindle our flames together. We kindle our chalice flames today with gratitude for the many who have tended the flames of love, truth, and justice here in our community. Generations of children, artists, planners, leaders, givers, all ministers in their own ways. For all of the ways we share the gift of ministry, let us give thanks. I now invite you to share in the comments where you are by writing, "I carry the flame in," whatever town or city you're joining us from.
Please join me in saying the words of our covenant. Love guides this church. The quest for truth and justice is its common purpose. To give thanks, listen deeply, speak with care, honor our differences, and seek and grant forgiveness. These things we covenant with one another.
May we have safe passage, oh, safe passage. May we have safe passage, oh, safe passage on our way. Safe passage on your way, brother. Safe passage on your way, sister. Safe passage on your way, sweet children. Safe passage on our way. May we have safe passage. Oh, safe passage. May we have safe passage. Oh, safe passage on our way. May we have safe passage, oh, safe passage. May we have safe passage, oh, safe passage on our way. Safe passage on our way, brother. Safe passage on your way, sister. Safe passage on your way, sweet children. Safe passage on our way. May we have safe passage, oh, safe passage. May we have safe passage, oh, safe passage on our way.
I invite you now into a time of listening and sharing joys and sorrows. If at this moment you have a joy, a gratitude, some good news that you'd like to share with this gathering, I invite you to type it into the comments now. We are glad to share these joys from among us. We give thanks for all glimpses of love and goodness, mercy and generosity in our lives and in the lives of those around us. But into this sacred time, we also bring pain, we bring sorrow, we bring fear, and maybe even regrets. If you have a sorrow or a concern that you'd like to share with this gathering, I invite you to type it into the comments now.
May we find comfort in all of our sorrows and fears, all of our worries and regrets. Comfort by unburdening ourselves, by sharing them with others. Comfort in the love that holds us all. Divine Companion, when loved ones, strangers, and kin are tucked away in isolation, fighting for their breath and yearning for home, the chasm between us feels impossible to bear. Will you, Sacred One, whisper to them the words of comfort we long to speak? Will you wrap your embrace around them as if our arms? Let their hands feel our gentle squeeze, their cheek our kiss. Upon their chest a calming hand, a promise of our care through the rising and the falling, in every reach for life. Assure them of your love and ours. Call for a holy cloud of witnesses to surround. Draw close every saint who knew and loved them. You do not abandon anyone to suffer alone. Wherever there is pain, fear, or distress, you are already there, willingly sharing with us in our hardest hours. If death comes, welcome them gently into the fold of eternity, where peace and rest await. In life and in death, we take refuge in your presence that stretches across time and space, a sacred meeting place where we find each other even when we are apart. Let us now enter into a moment of quiet together. Amen.
A dozen summers ago, I signed up for my first whitewater rafting trip on Maine's Kennebec River. Traveling overland in a rickety bus to reach the launch point, I paid close attention to the guide standing in the aisle as she undertook our education about this popular sport. If you fall out of the boat, she said, it is very important that you pull your feet up so that you don't get a foot caught in the rocks below. Think toes to nose, she stressed, and gave us a precarious demonstration, bracing herself and hoisting one foot toward her nose. Then look for the boat and reach for the oar or the rope. Our guide chattered on as we bumped our way toward the river. Most of us had been on the road since 4 a.m. and were feeling sleepy and mesmerized by the vibrations of the bus. Toes to nose, I heard again, and then look for the boat. By the time we arrived at the river's edge, I'd heard the two phrases so many times I felt slightly crazed. We put on our wetsuits, gathered our equipment, and stood in a circle for final instructions. If you fall out of the boat, what do you say to yourself? Toes to nose and look for the boat, we chimed. Surging into the only Class 5 rapids of the journey, I vanished into a wall of water that rose up at the stern of the raft as into a black hole. Roiling about underwater, there was no up and down, neither water nor air nor land. There had never been a boat. There was no anywhere. There was nothing at all. Toes to nose, the words emerged from a void. I pulled together into a ball. Air, sounds. Look for the boat. Did that come from my head or was someone calling? The boat appeared, and an oar. Reach for the oar. I did, and found myself in a world, inside the boat, on the water, traveling down the Kennebec in a spew of foam. Since this experience, I have used the metaphor out of the boat with many people in different situations. It signifies more than being off track. It means you don't know where the track is anymore. Out of the boat could refer to something as simple as losing all memory of ever having been on an exercise program, or it could refer to floundering in the wake of a management shakeup. When you are out of the boat, you cannot think your way back in. You have no point of reference. You must call on something that has been established in advance, a catchphrase like toes to nose. And so ends our reading.
Life's journey takes us each down our own paths, paths that sometimes diverge and require us to let go of the people and places we've grown to love. This is one of those times for us and for this congregation. Today is our last day in the pulpit here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley, and tomorrow is our last day as your co-ministers. It has been an honor and a privilege to get to know all of you of all ages. It has been a joy to serve with the staff here and a huge blessing to serve alongside of Deborah Schmidt, Jack Duggan, and Carrie Simpson, who have served as congregation presidents during our time here.
It's been fulfilling to serve here with all of you, and it's difficult to say goodbye to people we've come to know and care about so deeply. Saying goodbye is always hard, but it's harder this time because we can't do the things we usually do to say goodbye to people who have become so dear to us. We can't all gather together here in the sanctuary for an in-person service. We can't share cake after the service, though we invite you to do so in your own homes. We can't hug you and squeeze your hands and tell all of you one-on-one how much we will miss you. To use the metaphor from our reading, this pandemic has thrown us all out of the boat in more ways than one. And since we can't think our way back in, we're going to call on something long established. Toes to nose won't work in our case, but ancient wisdom about life and living will.
Dr. Ira Biak is kind of an expert in how to say goodbye. He's a palliative care advocate and has written books about how to say goodbye well when someone is dying. His teachings aren't really anything new. He just has a way of simplifying things we all know are important in all kinds of leave-taking. Dr. Biak says that there are 4 things that we need to say when we say goodbye. They are, please forgive me I forgive you. Thank you, and I love you. When this congregation installed us, you told us you would have us speak the truth in freedom and love, minister unto all people in their joys and their sorrows, celebrate the many blessings of life with awe and joy, and invite us into lives transformed by service and shaped by the pursuit of justice. We have done our best to serve you in these ways, but we know that we have fallen short sometimes. We have disappointed and angered some of you. At times, we have allowed our anxiety or our pride to overcome our call to comfort and pastor. We have not always been our best selves every moment of our ministry. For the ways we have hurt you and let you down, please forgive us.
This congregation recites a covenant each week, a shorter version of the longer covenant of right relations to which every member is expected to abide. Love guides this church. The quest for truth and justice is its common purpose. To give thanks, listen deeply, speak with care, honor our differences, and seek and grant forgiveness. These things we covenant with one another. There have been times when some of you have hurt us and when you've hurt one another. We have asked for you to hold one another accountable to this covenant, and sometimes you have chosen instead to avoid the hard conversations that might require. At times that has made our job harder. For the ways you have hurt us and let us down, we forgive you.
This is the way of covenant. We do our best. We fail anyway because we're human. We give and receive forgiveness, resolve to do better, and carry on with the ministry that we do together. And what a ministry it has been. We have learned and experienced so much here as your ministers. Thank you. We've been blessed to share ourselves, our gifts, our passions with you while we've been here. Thank you. And we've received gifts and insights and wisdom from so many of you. Thank you. Thank you for supporting our commitment to justice, even when it's taken us out of state. Thank you for challenging us with good questions and your own senses of what is good and just and true. Thank you for honoring our boundaries, respecting our time off. Thank you for loving our children, welcoming the 2 who joined our family just a couple of years ago, and for supporting us in loving and parenting them. Thank you for learning and growing together with us, embracing change with us, and serving love, truth, and justice together with us. Thank you.
It's hard saying goodbye to people who have become so dear to us. It's hard saying goodbye to people we've grown to love, and we do love you, each and every one. Dean Martin once said, "I got 7 kids. The 3 words you hear most around my house are hello, goodbye, and I'm pregnant." In many ways, this can be said of life in general. Transition is life's only constant, so in one way or another, we are always saying hello, saying goodbye, and preparing for the new. We may not always feel ready to say hello or goodbye when we have to, but while so much of our work as religious people is to revere the past, ours is a faith that trusts the dawning future more, as the hymn goes. It is this faith that assures us that even while we are sheltering in place right now, even though things are challenging today, healing, wholeness, and newness of life will always be ahead of us, ahead of this church, ahead of our world, in one form or another. While the work of ministry, work that we do together, can sometimes feel futile or foolish, in that work always lies the seed of what might be.
So, as we conclude our final homily as your co-ministers, we pray that as you discern what comes next for the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley, you will choose your path as a congregation carefully. For within what you aspire to do, within what future you pursue, lie the seeds of what might be.
We are sorry.
We forgive you.
Thank you.
We love you.
Amen.
In these hard days, it can be easy to think mostly of ourselves, our struggles, our fears. It's right to honor ourselves and our challenges, but focusing so far inward can also become isolating. This is why practicing generosity is more important now than ever. In thinking of others and giving to others, we're drawn out of ourselves and into the fullness of life all around us. Whether you can make an offering of $1 or $1,000 or something in between, we hope you will give yourself the gift of being generous today. Half of all offerings are given to our Good Neighbor organization. For the month of June, we'll be sharing our offerings with Youth Engagement Advocacy Housing to support the good work they do in our wider community.
Youth Engagement Advocacy Housing serves and supports young adults who are currently homeless. They provide shelter, food, basic necessities, counseling, individual support, and help finding housing and opportunities for meaning community involvement. More details on how to give electronically will appear on your screen as our offertory begins. The offering will now be given and received with gratitude.
Heart, don't fail me now. Courage, don't desert me. Don't turn back now that we're here. People always say life is full of choices. No one ever mentioned fear, or how the world can seem so vast on this journey to the past. Somewhere down this road, I know someone's waiting. Years of dreams just can't be wrong. Arms will open wide, I'll be safe and wanted, finally home where I belong. Well, starting now, I'm learning fast on this journey to the past. Home, love, family. There was once a time I must have had them too. Home, love, family. I will never be complete until I find you. One step at a time, one hope then another. Who knows where this road may go? pass on to find my future, things my heart still needs to know. Yes, let this be a sign, let this road be mine, let it lead me to my past and bring me home at last.
Please join me in dedicating our offering to the mission of this congregation. We dedicate this offering and ourselves to the mission of this congregation, to create loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service.
It has been so good to be together in praise and song today. Here are a few important announcements. UUCB is holding a vigil in support of Black Lives Matter on Saturday, June 20th at 1 p.m. Come join us in our vigil, uniting in solidarity with those who are grieving and angry over the murders of African Americans. We will be outside in the main UUCB parking lot, in cars, and in physically distanced chairs, with all possible precautions taken for COVID-19. Please bring your mask, a sign that you have made, and a flower for each person coming. Come join us. Next, please join us in our new midweek online Vesper service, held every Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. The 25-minute service, led by current worship associates, provides a time to come together to experience moments of reflection, prayer, and song. The June 17th Vespers will be led by Sarah Ward and Andrea Brown. That's me. Now, please join in singing our closing song.
In order to pay tribute to our departing ministers, the worship associates have put together a video with some closing remarks. And in honor of Pride Month for June, we have shown up in the rainbow colors. Our gratitude for Reverend Kristin and Christian, like the spectrum of light, is vaster than our human imaginations can hold at any one time.
As some of us have mentioned to Kristin and Christian numerous times, you are and have been a breath of fresh air for us and this congregation.
We have been moved and inspired by your sermons, your remarkable wisdom and insight, and your commitment to sharing the pulpit. In the words of Lonnie Mosley, thank you for your fierce, justice-loving soul.
Thank you for your message that love without justice is not love, that faith without action is not faith. Thank you for affirming that our UU faith demands that we seek justice for all.
You spoke out when there were messages we needed to hear, and you listened when we were ready to speak.
You have taught us how to create sacred space for worship and how the stories of our lives can hold our spiritual truths.
Some people are born with exceptional moral compasses. Kristin and Christian have truly been our guiding stars. We have been continually grateful for the clear moral and ethical guidance that they have provided as our congregation has navigated so many decisions together.
Thank you for your light. Our time together was short, but it will shine in our hearts for a long time to come.
each and all, in this beautiful and broken country that we share. As the waves of freedom carry us out toward the land we all dream about, let us lift every voice, and sing and rejoice. Amen?
Amen.
Amen. And now our worship has ended and our service begins.
Amen. senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow, giving, receiving, as love shows us how. Wake now, my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim whose quest for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now, my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted the privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now, my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance dear. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
Be well, UUCB. Keep serving love and truth and justice. We love you. We have faith in you. And we will always hold you in our hearts and our high regard.
Our worship is ended, and our service begins.